YouTube, it's been a while. Now, we do not have a DeLorean in the garage yet. It's still being worked on at DPI. However, there are things outside the DeLorean that we have to work on. Particularly today's subject is the Dodge Neon. Now, this is my work car. As you can see, my buddy Chris there. And today we're working on the headlight or multi-function switch connector. Now, obviously, if you found this YouTube video, 9 times out of 10 it's probably you already know what the fuck the problem is. But just a quick, brief little history. Now, we all know I'm a big Mopar fan, but this is probably one of Dodge's Etzel moments. Hand me that multi-functions, one of the old ones. Or whatever, it doesn't matter. Alright guys, so the multi-function switch on this car is obviously, this is what you're being used. This controls your headlights, parking lights, hazard lights, brights, low beams, high beams, fog lights if so installed, just all that stuff. Now, great idea on paper, but the problem is that this all comes back to a connector on the back of the multi-switch thing here. And it gets very hot. Alright guys, so yeah, that's basically what's going on. The multi-function switch, all the power goes back into this connector right here. As you can see, this one's a little toasty. And that's what happens. The relay's back there. Everything is put through that multi-function switch, which once again is great on paper. You know, one switch to rule them all. But at the same time, it's a stupid fucking design because there's so much power going through that switch that it gets very, very, very hot. And over time, the connector is not exactly the most, I guess you could say, fancy, expensive, fancy plastic. It's actually quite fucking cheap and brittle. And you figure this car is going on, you know, what, 17 years old plus. So over heating and cooling, the plastic just, of course, gets more and more brittle. And that basically is what leads to it gets, sorry, the wifey's leaving. But it gets all hot and the connector starts to melt. And yeah, it took me almost 20 minutes to actually break the connector off of the multi-function switch. The pins have been just so molded onto it. So you're thinking, okay, so go to the Chrysler dealership, get yourself a new connector, maybe a new multi-function switch, 40-50 bucks, easy peasy, you're ready to go the next day. Well, not exactly. Now, the only way you're really going to notice whether or not this is starting to go out, with me, I didn't know anything about it until I noticed that my headlights weren't working. My parking lights were working, all that stuff, but my headlights, nothing. So that's when I figured, oh, the multi-function switch, and that's when I found out about the connector getting hot and it starts melting. And that's what happened with that. So you're probably going to need a new multi-function switch because it probably got fried in the process. But that's not where you stop. You're going to have to get a new connector. Now, the awesome part about this is they don't make this connector anymore through Chrysler. So you're going to have to go and search the junkyards to get a new connector. Now, as you can see, I'm going to show you all right here real quick. Got Chris on the job. He's in the process of splicing wires. You can see just how fucking charred that bitch got. Alright, so, yeah. Big design flaw. Anyway, there's a lot of fucking wires going behind it too. So, with all the wiring going behind it and everything, you're going to probably have to splice wires. Now, you can repin it if the connector is not barbecued completely. You could just break off the old pins and put them into the new connector that you got from the local junkyard. But mine was too charred, so we're splicing wires. So it's going to start becoming like a routine every like 20,000, 30,000 miles, whatever the number is I decide to do, to actually check the connector in the back. And if it starts getting a little charred now, there is rumor that Dorman is making a connector, or there's a guy on the SRT4 forums that is reproducing these connectors maybe with a stronger plastic, which would be awesome because after searching through the junkyard to find a connector, we realized, oh, this isn't just, oh, one or two to have this issue, or it just happens when you have 200. No, every one of those bitches had some form of it getting hot, signs of it getting hot on it when we checked it. We just happened to pick the best connector we could find, and that's the one we bought. So that's where your options are right now. So it sucks, but that's how it is. Now, most people that own Neons and work on their cars probably already know about this problem. I was not aware of it until recently. But I guess if you really want to, we could do a quick how-to on how to do this. It's not that difficult. But pretty much, you have an upper... Oops, shit, there's a window there. We have an upper and a lower trim piece on the console. 2 screws hold it in. Stick a Phillips head up in there. Unscrew it. And just carefully pull the pins out there, and it should fall out, and pull the top up. And then you'll have access to your multifunction switch. Will be sitting like that, basically. Unbolt all those bolts and pry the connector loose from the back. Pull your relay from the old one, put it onto the new one, and then you're just gonna have a whole bunch of wire splicing fun. And that's basically how it works, guys. So we'll update you when we're done with this and make sure that's accurate. So that's basically how you do a connector here. We got it all back together. Everything's working great. Works pretty damn good. So until the next video, I'll see you guys later.